There everyone, back with another training video. As requested by one of our clan mates, he wanted to see what is possible, what can be done, thought processes, that sort of thing that goes into playing the Wooster, which is the American Tier 10 light cruiser. Now, one of the things you need to keep in mind is that all of the American cruisers do well on maps that is heavy, where there's a heavy concentration of islands. So as you can see, I've got my Wooster pointed in the general direction of an island, and I'm trying to set it up in such a way that I can be useful to the destroyer once the destroyer heads into that cap. Now, one thing to take into consideration here is that there's a big ass island in the middle of the A cap. So what destroyers tend to do on the enemy team is they rush for the middle island, which means even if I radar and even if I'm in a position to spot the ship, I probably wouldn't be able to shoot at it. But if you're lucky, sometimes you do get a potatoing destroyer that leaves the safety of that island, and then next minute he finds himself at the bottom of the ocean. So you need to give yourself that kind of chance. Get your guns out in that general vicinity and just see whether or not you can contribute to removing a destroyer early. But you don't want to show too much of your own ship either. Now, under normal circumstances you would be posting up a little bit closer to an island, but my problem is I recognize that the shape of this island doesn't necessarily allow me to shoot over the edge of it if any ships do appear right in front of me. Further targets, absolutely I can still shoot over it if I was a little bit closer, but real close targets I wouldn't be able to. And it leaves me a little bit exposed to ships that would approach from my west around the island in the A cap. But I'm more than prepared to disengage if need be. As you can see, my concealment circle is roughly in the middle of the A cap. So I do believe I've given myself enough space to disengage and just reverse into obscurity if need be. So the Akizuki is now currently in the A cap, and as you can see it is being contested by whatever enemy destroyer might be there. I decide to get one or two shots off on enemy cruisers approaching from the west, mainly because I need them to turn into the island and not spot me from, in the position that I'm sitting in. Akizuki, a rush of crap to the brain, backing up in behind the island again after eating a couple of shells, and this Donskoy is ruining my positioning by ramming me from behind. I did not request unsolicited butt sex, and I would prefer if something like this do not happen in most games that I play. Not that many targets that I can shoot at the moment. Luckily for me, the destroyer did leave a big smoke cloud in front of me, so if I have to shoot at something I can do so without being spotted. So I'm just trying to get a couple of cheap shells on one or two ships. It's a little bit difficult to dial in your shots early on in the Wooster, seeing as the shells are so floaty. Akizuki showing too much of himself again, trying to make a hasty escape. I'm gonna miss quite a few salvos on him. All I'm doing now is just trying to chunk him a little bit further, and just enough so that he becomes easier to kill later on. As you can see, some of the shells fell on his ship but did no damage. That's because of this glitch that you have where shells go through the edge of an island and it looks as if it's tracking the enemy, but it's actually duds. Popping my radar at this point to see which of the enemy ships in that cap is hugging the island quite comfortably. It doesn't look as if too many were hugging the island. Buffalo is now leaving the safety of that island. Decide to get a couple of shots off on him, see if I can't make him turn and run. couple of really low health targets in that cap at this point in time, but I'm keeping myself in a position where not many of them can shoot back at me. There's maybe one or two that can shoot back at me. Now the buffalo disappears. He can't shoot at me. The Montana is the only other target that can. So I'm looking to stop shooting, reposition a little bit, and keep my ship maneuvering and maybe turn my nose in towards him. Playing around with my speed. Again, propulsion module is your friend. And as you can see, his guns are now pointed in my direction, and I've broken a lot of speed. So I'm waiting for him to shoot before I do anything weird with my positioning. And that's it. I am now backing up, breaking a lot of speed, and he led me too much and he missed everything. And this is now the point in time where I will start harassing him. No battleship liked the feeling of being hit by shells being shot at him in sequential fire like that. So I'm trying to annoy him to the point where his aim might be off trying to shoot at me while trying to actively maneuver. As you can see, I'm still backing up. I'm backing up, but now, as you will see, with the shots landing, I'm turning my ship straight in his direction to maybe bounce a couple of the shells coming in at me. And now it becomes a little bit more difficult to hit the target reliably. But just have a look on the minimap. You'll notice that my crosshair is pointed slightly in front of him, knowing that he is angled towards me. I am trying to still hit him over these islands, which is a huge possibility. I disengage completely, and a couple of shells will still find its target. And pause. Have a look at the scoreboard at this point in time. The enemy is better off by one ship. They've lost 4, we've lost 5. They're the only ones with a cap. Now, I would normally never recommend that you give up or do not contest the B cap on this map, but because people know that the B cap can turn into a death trap, they don't tend to give that as much attention as they probably should. The problem with not contesting it is if you give the B cap to the enemy early on, then the cap points do get out of hand. One additional ship advantage should not lead to a 250 to 300 point cap advantage as early in the game as this. It should not. But because they had that cap right from the start, they now have such a huge advantage. They can play less aggressively and actually get away with a win here. So we needed to make the plays happen. We still don't have that cap. The Yamato is the only one in that cap. And as long as he's in there and the Monty is shooting at it and the Buffalo is shooting at it, we're not going to get it. So I realized that I might need to disengage, pick a target, try and remove it from the equation and force the Buffalo further north with our advancing ship so that we can then move towards B. And we need to do it quickly because we are running out of time. And play. Now watch what happens here. Both the Montana and the Buffalo is currently concealed. We don't have any targets to shoot at. Montana, Donskoy and myself is heading towards this A-cap to try and assist in its capture. I've got a very low concealment, so if I do not shoot, I might be able to DD this ship. And there's the Montana, busy turning away. Now, as you'll notice, his guns is pointed at the Yamato, so I've got no problem shooting at him in the open, at all. Trying to set a couple of fires, see how much I can harass him. Now watch carefully. His front guns is still not pointed in my direction, but I notice that the rear guns are coming. And I'm waiting for the shots, I'm delaying it. Look at my crosshairs. I'm delaying it. And There it comes. Now I'm trying to actively maneuver. Turning in. Oh! Bounces a few. Don't eat too much damage. And I now know that I've got at least another 20 to 30 seconds to hit him with impunity. Enemy now has a 310 point cap lead on us. And that is way too big. I wanted to stay in the A cap in order to take it. But I couldn't remain there because I know that the Montana might be targeting me. And one of his shells hit the center of my ship. Penned me badly. That dude might be swearing at me right now. But that's payback for a citadel. One more shot for good measure, but it's not going to get there. Now that the Buffalo is completely out of the picture, I don't think it is needed that we even need to charge him at all. He's so far away that his lofty shells is not going to be any sort of threat to us at all when we move to B. As you can see, we also have a bit of a salty idiot in chat. Thinking that dead ship is best ship for giving advice. Sometimes dead ship can be best ship to give advice, but more often than not when someone bitches and moans over something as stupid as this, I don't put too much stock in his advice giving. Right, and pause again. Now, what do we currently see on this minimap? We currently see a couple of capital ships in and around C that hasn't capped it yet. Even though there's only 2 ships there that can stop them from doing so, which is the Wooster and the Lexington. Now granted, the Kurfürst and the Moskva don't have the concealment to necessarily charge the C cap and not be reset all the time by the Wooster. They know they've got a cap advantage on us, so they don't need to rush C at all. But the time will come when they will do it. The Lexington finds himself in a very precarious position because the AP salvos from the Kurfürst and the Moskva and the Baltimore will be absolutely devastating to that T8 series. He needs to get out of there. And the only thing standing in between us and the enemy team capturing C is that Wooster at this point in time. And even he is being chunked right now. So, noticing that they are embroiled in their own little battle over at sea, and the Zhao and the Yamato has been sailing away from the B cap, I know that with my concealment I can get into the B cap and steal it from them before they can get C. And play. And look, as I said, Buffalo is a non-issue right now. At some point in time, he will have to move closer to hit us reliably. He's going to have to try and pitch in. He doesn't have to do that yet because they do have the cap advantage. And they do have, and they're on the process of taking another cap. So it is, he doesn't have to take risks. But when the time comes where he feels that he needs to take the risk, he's going to have to move closer to have those shells land. And that's when we will be able to punish him. And everything has gone deathly quiet. Time ticking down. Not too many targets to shoot at. Nothing really spotted. The carrier's been very lazy to send his planes over in this direction for a while now, but I also believe that it's probably not a fantastic idea to send these tier 8 CV planes over this AA bubble that exists heading towards the B cap. He will lose all of them. So I get into the B cap and I'm thinking, there's the Zhao. He just got spotted. He's 12 kilometers away. I send a couple of salvos or a couple of shots in his direction and the friendly Yamato absolutely smacks the snot out of him. But now I'm slightly worried because he showed just enough of his ship to actually be sending torpedoes. So I pop my hydroacoustic search just so I can sit in this B cap and be able to spot possible torpedoes coming in with plenty of warning. Need to put this island between me and the enemy so that I can cap this cap without being reset. And all I want is, at this point, knowing that we're probably going to cap this thing quickly once the Donskoy gets in here, I need to see where the next target is and pause once again. This is a crucial thing that I think most players need to start incorporating into their gameplay. I could have shot earlier at that Baltimore, but I didn't want to do that. Because my shells are so lofty, the closer a target is to you, the more reliably you will be able to hit that target. And with these 152mm shells with IFHE on them, it does a huge amount of damage on a cruiser. And to get the most out of those salvos, sometimes you need to bring the element of surprise. So I'm holding on to my shells until he spots me. The moment I am detected by him, that's when I will start shelling him. By that time we should have the B cap. He wouldn't have had any chance of hitting me and resetting the cap, and I would be able to burn him comfortably. And play. The moment I went detected, that's when I opened up on him. And he realized now that he's in a very bad position and he needs to move. It also gave me time to angle my ship away from him, and he didn't even touch me with his shells. I'm hoping to land enough shells on him to kill him off before he disappears. But he got lucky. No fires burning on him. Left with about 2,000 health remaining. I felt stolen from at this point in time. But now we've got the cap advantage. And we've got the ship advantage. The only way we can probably lose this game right now is if we potato and we allow the Moskva and the Kurfürst to murder us. So I popped my radar to try and trace where that Baltimore would have gone. But he's nowhere to be found. So instead of moving south, as his last known position suggested he would have, where I would have been able to hit him in that little gap between the two islands, he's now sailed east. And right towards the end of my radar usage do we pick him up inside that B cap, or inside the C cap, sorry. So I'm sending a salvo, but a friendly takes him out before I can. So that's guns out of the game. We still have one ship advantage, but a 100-point cap deficit. Kurfürst, I think, is going to go down. Carrier fought valiantly, tried to stay alive, but he died in front of the Kurfürst. And again, let's pause right here, just so that we can show you exactly what the thought processes here was. I could have shot earlier as well. But if I was shooting at him with my nose pointed at him, First of all, I either would have had to go in completely nose in at him, because his AP shells that he would be shooting at me, if he was shooting AP, would be devastating to any sort of broadside that I'm showing, even if I'm slightly angled, because I'm a light cruiser with light armor. So, before I could open up on him, and with his guns pointed in my direction, I had to angle away from him in a way where I can still use most of my guns on him and actively maneuver and dodge his shells that might be incoming. And play. So as I'm still busy turning out, only then do I start hitting him. The power of island firing with a Wooster. It's glorious. Look at that. Long after I finished shooting, shells are still landing on its target, over 2 islands. It's a beautiful thing to see. Now that we've got the cap point advantage and the 2-ship advantage, this game is all but in the bag. Oh, that poor Moskva got murdered. 11,500 HP left. Aim with my crosshair on the last known position of the ship on the minimap, and I just start shooting to hit his superstructure. That is disgusting kinds of damage coming down on him. But sadly, I'm not the one getting the kill. And here you can see again, knowing that he's broadside, he probably would have had his guns in this direction anyway. I needed to angle away from him when I started shooting at him. Getting closer to a target like that by putting your bow in towards him is a very bad idea. Clock ticking down. 1.5 minutes left. Just a little bit over 1.5 minutes. And one of the teammates remarks, "We even won with a screaming child." To that, of course, I replied, "Yep." Don't know what to think about right here, right now. I mean, Lexington is still alive. Yamato is still alive. But we don't really know where they are. And there we go. Yamato spotted, busy sailing back in this direction. Full health, of course, like all battleships are. Well, that's what we tell ourselves. And I have no idea what kind of result he thinks he's going to be influencing right now. And I'm thinking, well, this is a nice time to perch myself behind an island, keep myself concealed, and just let the hellfire rain down. Trying to aim actively in the direction that he is traveling. First few shells are not necessarily going to land until you get it dialed in nicely. And from that point onwards, it's just going to be carnage. Game ends with the Yami going down. And that's about it. Nothing spectacular about the game, but I did my bit. Okay, boys, I'm not going to dwell too much on, the actual result screen, because, again, nothing spectacular. It's just how decision making can mean the difference between winning and losing, and who knows really how big the contribution of my own ship in that game was, considering that I only have the one kill. I probably could have had one or two others if they weren't stolen by other ships. But it all comes down to not giving your ship away for free, doing the damage that you need to get ships to either turn around, because that's one of the biggest powers of the Wooster. Frustrating enemy ships to the point where they know they're going to get burned down if they don't turn around and disengage. That's one of the biggest strengths this ship has. So you need to work on your aim. You need to be able to make use of the ship's shells, because it's extremely powerful. The 127,000 damage, again, it's good, but it's average. Have a solo cap for defense, and I even shot down an aircraft. Whose it was, I've got no idea. I'm not even going to go check. Then, if you move to the experience, it's 1,700. It's good, again, but it's only 4th on the team. And the one thing to take note of, the 5 ships that is in the top 5 are the 5 ships that lasted till the very end of the battle. And this brings me back to the point I made in the Zao video. You can do 100,000 damage in 2 minutes, no problem. But if you then put your ship in a bad position and you die, your job is not done. You failed your team. If you see yourself go to the end of a game, that is when you've done your job. Not giving the enemy the point swing, not giving them the satisfaction of sinking you, and contributing to the late and end game in order to squeeze those wins, like I have done here. Hi guys, back on my NA account, Wooster loaded. Let me quickly show you what this build is all about. On my modules, you'll probably find that it is more suited to random battles than it is clan battles, because of the high amount of CVs that we do encounter at tier 8, 9 and 10. My captain skills, you'll probably find it's a well-rounded build for clan as well as random battles. Obviously you go with premium consumables as much as you possibly can. These things, when they are premium, allow you to stay alive for longer, and a ship that stays alive for longer is a ship that has a bigger impact on the outcome of a game. None of these are swappable with other consumables, so they come stock standard. Over here we've got main armaments mod 1, seeing as nothing over here really is of any interest to me, except for maybe auxiliary armaments mod 1, but that's something that I will take when you know you're going to be facing CVs every single game and you want your AA mounts to survive. On slot number 2, I've got the action time of my radar increased with surveillance radar mod 1. On slot number 3, I've got my AA guns mod 1, which I will, for clan battles, swap out for a tighter dispersion, aiming systems mod 1. Then on slot number 4, I've got propulsion. And as I've said before in a previous video, always take propulsion on ships where you are looking to be an active harasser, an active shooter, so that you can break speed, you can come to a halt, you can reverse, you can pick up speed, you can actively maneuver a lot better with something that gets to full power quicker. So propulsion mod every single time when that is your playstyle. On slot number 5, yes, I do have the legendary mod, but I don't feel as if it's something that is the benefit you get from the other things. I don't feel as if it's worth giving away all of that concealment that you are. So I went with concealment system mod 1. On the last slot, I went with AA Guns Mod 2, but for clan battles, I would go with the increased range. Not so much with the increased reload time. I mean, the benefit from getting that extra 12% on the reload time, it's maybe going to push your reload from 4.1 to maybe 3.6 at least. Yes, it's a very short reload, but are you really going to see that kind of benefit? And what's that benefit really going to help you in clan battles when your range is only 16.7 kilometers? So yes, I would in clan battles go with main battery firing range so I can shoot at stationary targets. And captain skills, let's have a look. Priority target, because you are going to be shooting from cover most of the time, and you want to know when you are being targeted by specific ships. That usually is an indication of a destroyer flanking, that sort of thing. Something that's literally spotting you in open water when you are thinking you are covered by islands. Then Jack of all trades just brings up all my consumables 5% faster. The adrenaline rush, which increases your reload time based on the amount of damage you've taken on your ship. Superintendent, which gives you one extra consumable right through the bank. Demolition expert increases your fire chance on your main battery shells, and you basically take that to counter the decreased fire chance you get from taking the IFHE skill. Now, the IFHE skill is crucial for ships with 152mm shells, as we all know by now. So those two will definitely go hand in hand. And then lastly, concealment expert. There's not much else you can take on here to make it better. Sure, you can use RPF like I've done in my ZOW video, but then again, the ZOW didn't need IFHE. And that's 4 points that you've spent out of 19. So unless you've got a captain of 22, 23 points, I don't really see how you can get around, discarding some of these skills that's going to come in handy with regards to staying alive and pumping out the firepower and having the RPF skill. So that's it in a nutshell. Have a good one and send us some more suggestions as to what ships you want to see dissected.